Fadeout, a Day Brandstetter mystery, Book 1, author Joseph Hansen, publisher University of Wisconsin Press, Terrace Books, 1970, narrator Eric Aust. Fadeout, a Dave Brandstetter mystery, Joseph Hansen, writer, published by the University of Wisconsin Press, Terrace Books. Chapter 4. She was rolling a wheel along the road when the tire wobbled against her. It smeared mud on the white raincoat. She had tied a triangle of clear plastic over her hair. It lay like a drenched tissue paper. When she heard the car come up behind her and turned to look at him, strands of wet hair lay plastered down her face. She raked at them with the fingers of one muddy hand and gave him a little frantic wave with the other. The wheel got away from her then. It lurched into the roadside scrub and lay down like a sick animal. He set the handbrake and got out. The water thundered down the Oreo. Over its roar, he shouted, "Get into the car!" "The wheel!" she wailed. "I'll bring it," he said. "Get in!" When he opened the luggage compartment, the smell of new automobile came out. He'd only opened it twice, for suitcases. Well, all that handsome contoured carpeting was due for a shock. He heaved the split and earth-clogged tire inside and slammed the lid. Now his own coat was muddy. He sighed, wiped his hand on it, and climbed back into the car behind the steering wheel. "Gosh, thanks." She perched, dripping on the seat edge. "But I'm ruining your lovely new car." "It's a company car," he said. "They expect me to use it hard, like James Bond." "What company?" "Who are you? What?" "Brandstetter, David, Medallion Life. I'm an insurance investigator." He let go of the handbrake and began to inch the car along again. The rain came down hard now. The windshield wipers waved like the arms of a drowning man. "What did you think you were doing?" "I had a flat and no spare. I was walking to Pima. My boyfriend works at the signal station." She looked at her muddy hands. "Have you got a Kleenex or something?" Keeping watch on the road, what he could see of it, he leaned across and opened the glove compartment. There was a box of tissues, blue box with little white tracery flowers. He jerked some of the soft papers out and handed them to her. "How come you didn't go back to Olson's?" She sneezed. A plastic bag for trash hung off the dashboard. Thoughtful medallion. She stuffed the muddied Kleenex into it and pulled fresh ones to blow her nose. "They don't have a spare." "I meant you could have phoned from there." "He's there," she said. Dave glanced at her. "When did you get this flat?" "You left up there a good hour ago. Where's your car?" "Back up the road, a little below the bridge." "I didn't see it," Dave said. "It's parked up that little overgrown side road that used to lead to a house that burned down." "What were you doing there?" "Waiting." Her face set, young, sullen. She muttered, "There was something I wanted to see." "Who was coming to the Olsons, right?" "Right. It was him, Hale McNeil. When you didn't come down, I began to wonder if it would be. But it was him. When I started up my car, the damn tire was flat. My third in 2 weeks. Can I have a cigarette, please?" "I left mine in my car." He dug out his pack and handed it to her. "There's a dash lighter," he said. "It sounds to me as if you either ought to get new tires or stop backing up country roads." "To spy on your employer." "Why shouldn't Hale McNeil visit Mrs. Olson? They're old friends." The smoke from the cigarette hung gray and still in the warm car. She blinked at him through it. "Insurance investigators come around when there's something wrong," she said. "You think there's something wrong about Fox Olson's death, don't you?" He watched the road. "Do you?" "Yes." She poked the lighter back into its socket. "I think he committed suicide." "Why?" The smoke smelled good. "Light one of those for me, would you?" "Because Thorne and Hale are having an affair." She pushed the lighter and hung the new cigarette in her mouth. All the lipstick was gone. It looked vulnerable as a flower. "You think," he asked, "or you know?" "I know." She lit the cigarette and leaned across and set it carefully in his mouth. "I saw them last July, right out in broad daylight, naked by the pool. Disgusting. I mean, how revolting can you get? They're old enough to be grandparents or something." She thrust the lighter back into place. He grinned. "I have news. We senior citizens have our moments. Thank God." He glanced at her. "Anyway, I assume they thought they were alone. I wasn't supposed to be there, she admitted. It was my day off, but Sandy Webb, the one who works at the gas station, we'd had a fight. I didn't feel like sitting around moping. Where's the ashtray? Reach under the dash, he said. It tilts out. She found it and tilted it out and put ashes into it. So I thought I'd go up to the studio and work. I didn't get far. They didn't see me. I cut out. I was sick. I drove straight to the station. KPIM. Fox was taping 2 shows that day. He did that on Wednesdays. It was why I had the day off. Maria, too. She cooks and keeps house. That was why Thorne and Hale. Today's Monday, Dave said. I didn't see Maria. She moved out when Fox died. She doesn't like Thorne. It was Fox she liked. Her smile was crooked and forlorn. Everybody liked Fox. Was Thorne hard to work for? It wasn't that. She fired Maria last Christmas. Well, you just don't do that to Maria. What was the reason? Thorne hired a Japanese houseboy through an agency in San Francisco, a Christmas gift to Fox. She said when they were poor back in L.A. and daydreamed about getting successful and having servants, Fox always said a Japanese houseboy was the only kind he'd want. You know. So what happened to the houseboy? Oh, he's still in town. Works at the Pima Motor Inn. I didn't mean that. I meant, what was it? He didn't last? I don't know exactly, she frowned and stubbed out her cigarette. I remember the day after Christmas. He was out in a pair of little white trunks vacuuming the pool. About 9 in the morning, when I walked into the studio, Fox was standing by the window. He didn't hear me, didn't see me, just stood there staring down at Ito for the longest time. Then suddenly he turned and without a word ran out of the studio and down the stairs and into the house. Pretty soon, Thorne came out and called Ito inside. After that, Fox came back up, but he was very quiet all day. Ito was never around the place after that. And Maria came back. The girl nodded, but not speaking to Thorne, not for quite a while. The rain had brought night early. He switched on the headlights. I interrupted you, he said. You were telling me about what you did after you found Mr. McNeil and Mrs. Olson making out beside the pool. I drove straight to the station to tell Fox, but when I ran inside and saw him through the studio window sitting there at the long table with those big white pillow earphones on, and the mic hanging in front of his face, and the scripts and the music, and record sleeves and empty paper cups with his guitar in his hands, grinning and being funny for the people. She bit her lip and turned away to face the darkness. She couldn't go on for a minute. When she turned toward him, and he glanced at her, her face was wet as if there hadn't been glass between it and the rain. He was so sweet, such a dear, kind gentleman. I couldn't bear to hurt him. She reached for the Kleenex again. Dave said, but he committed suicide anyway? He found out himself. He must have. It was Wednesday night when he died. I don't know. I wasn't there, but I bet he came home when she didn't expect him and found them the way I did before. Not by the pool, Dave said. Not in this weather. She cried. Stop laughing. It's not funny. It's tragic. I know him. I know how he would have felt. He wouldn't even tell them. Dave raised his eyebrows. Hated scenes, did he? Oh, stop, she said. No, you don't understand him at all. She turned away sharply. You probably won't believe it, but how he'd react would be... I don't want to spoil their happiness. If you say so, Dave said. I didn't know him. He turned around and drove back down the canyon and crashed through that bridge. Killed himself. He loved her that much? What do you mean? She was his wife. Dave smiled without cheer. Had been for 20-odd years. You've hardly lived that long. You don't know how long that can be. He put out a cigarette. He wouldn't look at another woman, she said hotly. Everything he did was for her. I see. Dave nodded ahead. Here's Pima. Through the rain it was a huddled smear of neon reds and blues. You'll have to direct me. Where's this signal station? She pointed. Turn right at the traffic light. Gee, I'm grateful, Mr. Brandt. What? Stetter. He told her again. He drove under the gas station overhang, sheet metal, the rain rattled on it. A boy came out of the bright glass office, black slicker open over his tan uniform, tall with a child's face, under a mop of reddish hair. It's me, Sandy. Terry got out of the car. I had another flat. He didn't answer, only stared at her. Mr. Brandstetter gave me a ride. The wheel's in his trunk. Dave leaned across the seat and held out keys. The boy took them with a big hand grease under the nails. Turning, he said to the girl, "Shit!" Dave got out. The boy had the back open. "What's your problem?" Dave said. The boy bounced the wheel. It splashed water and mud off the tarmac. He shut the trunk and handed Dave his keys. "No problem," he said. "I'll fix it for her." "You're very gallant," Dave said. "Am I supposed to thank you for picking up my chick?" "It was my pleasure," Dave smiled at the girl. "I'll bet it was," the boy sneered. "Christ." He turned on the girl. "What is it with you and dirty old men?" His shirt was open at the handsome throat. Dave started to reach for it. Terry caught his arm. "No, don't," she said. "He didn't mean it. Sandy, why do you act like this?" The boy didn't answer. He glowered. Dave took Terry's elbow. "Come on. You'd better let me drive you home." "Like hell," the boy said. "It's all right, Mr. Brandstetter. He won't hurt me. He's just jealous, is all. That's wrong with him." He eyed the boy with loving scorn. "Not quite an adult yet." "Shit!" The boy rolled the tire toward the garage. Dave folded himself back into his car. "Advise him," he said to Terry, "that I don't sing, play the guitar, tell stories, or paint pictures, and that I have particularly no sense of humor." She blinked wide, blue eyes at him. "See you later," he said, and let the car doors click shut and tilted the car out into the street. Broad, high-curbed, empty in the rain, the yellow store windows looked bleak against the murky dusk. The gaudy sign spelled loneliness. Gay Mysteries audiobooks. I think it is easy to hate a label, but a face humanizes the word. So this effort is twofold: to offer comfort to those like myself that your world didn't end because you don't fit into the view of acceptable society on both sides, and in hopes of helping those with family that are LGBTQ, that it doesn't mean we are aliens from the child they once knew. Reassure them so they can maybe be supportive at the same time, being true to their values.